Have you ever noticed that some people make more money every year, but still feel financially stressed? Today, we're going to talk about why that happens and what most people were never taught about money. Welcome back to another episode of the Jones Empire Podcast, where we talk about financial growth, personal responsibility, and building a better future step by step. Let's settle into this topic because it's a real one, and I'm not talking about it from a place of judgment. I'm talking about it from life. I watch people do everything right on paper. They got the raise, switch careers, start a side hustle, hit new income levels, and somehow they still felt like they were one unexpected bill away from stress. If that's been you, you're not broken. You're not lazy, and you're definitely not alone. The big idea for today is simple. Making more money can help, but it doesn't automatically fix financial stress. Sometimes it even hides the real problem for a while. When the paycheck goes up, we feel relief. But if the underlying habits don't change, that relief doesn't last. It's like pouring more water into a bucket that has holes in it. For a moment, it looks better, but the bucket still leaks. So let's talk about why that happens. And as we do, I want you to keep asking yourself one question. If my income went up by 20% tomorrow, would my life actually change long-term, or will my spending just rise to meet it? Because for a lot of people, the second one is what happens. And that's where we start. The truth that increasing income doesn't automatically erase financial pressure. Here's what most folks expect. They think, once I make more, I'll finally breathe. And sometimes, yes, higher income does create breathing room. If you're working 2 jobs just to keep the lights on, you know that extra income matters. I'm not dismissing that, but I'm talking about something else. The pattern where income climbs and stress somehow stays the same. The reason is that the stress is often coming from the system you're running, not just the amount you earn. If your money has no plan, no boundaries, and no structure, it tends to disappear. It's not because you're irresponsible. It's because money by default flows toward what feels good and what feels urgent. And the combination of feels good and feels urgent is powerful. That's most spending right there. Now, one of the biggest reasons people feel broke at higher income levels is something that sounds fancy, but it's actually very normal. It's called lifestyle inflation. Lifestyle inflation is basically when your life expands as your income expands. You get a raise, and you don't just save the difference. You upgrade everything. Not because you're a bad person, but because it feels reasonable. You start thinking, I work hard. I deserve a nicer car. Or, I'm tired of living like a college student. Or, we've been meaning to move anyway. And listen, those thoughts aren't evil. Wanting a better life is normal. The problem is when your lifestyle upgrades happen automatically without a plan. It's subtle too. Lifestyle inflation isn't always big and dramatic. Sometimes it's small and constant. It's the daily coffee that becomes the daily coffee and the breakfast sandwich. It's the streaming subscriptions that multiply. It's the grocery bill that climbs because now you're buying more convenience foods. It's the treat yourself habit that turns into a regular line item. And there's a social side to it. When people around you see you earning more, expectations can change. You might start joining more outings. You may feel pressure to dress a certain way, keep up with friends, live in the right area, put your kids in certain programs, take certain vacations, post certain experiences. Nobody says, you must spend more now, but the pressure is in the air. And if you don't have a strong sense of what you want your money to do, you'll end up letting your environment decide for you. That brings us to spending habits, debt, and the quiet problem that sits under all of this. Most people were never taught how money really works. A lot of us learned how to work. We learned how to clock in, show up, be responsible, get promoted. But we didn't learn how to manage the results of our labor in a way that builds freedom. We learned pay your bills. We learned don't be late. We learned try to save. But we didn't learn systems. And without a system, you end up reacting. Money comes in, money goes out, and you're hoping it all works out by the end of the month. Let's talk about spending habits first. Habits don't care about your income. Habits are loyal. If you have a habit of spending when you're stressed, you'll do it at $40,000 a year, and you'll do it at $90,000 a year. The purchases just get bigger or more frequent. If you have a habit of not checking your bank account because it makes you anxious, you'll avoid it at any income level. If you have a habit of saying yes to everyone else before you say yes to your own future, that habit doesn't disappear just because you got a raise. Now let's talk about debt, because debt is one of the biggest reasons people make more and still feel broke. Debt payments are like a silent tax on your income. Car payments, credit cards, personal loans, buy now, pay later plans, student loans, even 0% interest deals that still require monthly payments. When your income goes up, lenders don't say, "Congrats, now you can save more." They say, "Congrats, now you qualify for more." And that's not a conspiracy. That's just how the system works. Your higher income increases your ability to borrow, and borrowing feels like progress because it lets you upgrade your life right now. But then those monthly payments move in, and suddenly that raise is already spoken for. And here's the tricky part. Debt doesn't just take money. It takes options. It takes peace. It takes flexibility. Because when you have a lot of payments, you can't move freely. You can't easily take a lower-paying job that would make you happier. You can't easily start a business. You can't easily take a break when life gets heavy. You're locked into maintaining a certain level of cash flow just to stay afloat. So when someone says, "I make good money, but I feel broke," the first place I think is, how much of their income is already assigned to payments before they even start the month? Now let's layer in the lack of financial education. Most people don't know how to organize money. They don't know what percentage should go where. They don't understand how much small recurring expenses add up. They don't understand interest, especially compound interest, both the kind that can build wealth and the kind that can bury you. They don't understand investing, so they avoid it, or they assume investing is only for rich people. So the only plan becomes working harder and hoping later feels easier. Let's make this real with some scenarios because I want you to hear yourself in this, without guilt, just awareness. Scenario 1. A person gets a raise from $60,000 to $75,000. That's meaningful money. At first, they feel relieved. They start going out to eat a little more because they finally can. They upgrade their phone and get a new plan. They decide to lease a nicer car because their current one is getting old. They move to a slightly nicer apartment because they're tired of the old neighborhood. None of those decisions are outrageous on their own, but together they create a new financial baseline. So the money that could have been building an emergency fund or paying off debt or investing gets absorbed into a lifestyle that now feels normal. And then something happens: car repair, medical bill, a slow month, a family emergency, and the stress returns. Not because they don't make enough, but because the margin is thin. Scenario 2. Someone has a side hustle. Their income jumps, but so do their expenses. They're busy, so they start paying for convenience. More delivery, more takeout, more last-minute spending. They tell themselves it's temporary, just to get through the season. But the season becomes a pattern. Money comes in fast and goes out fast. They're exhausted, and ironically, they feel like they can't slow down because they need the income to keep funding the new spending habits. Scenario 3. A couple starts earning more, but they never sit down and talk about what their money is supposed to do. One person thinks, "We should enjoy life more now." The other thinks, "We should save aggressively." Nobody's wrong, but without a shared plan, the money becomes a source of tension. They both feel stressed, even though their income is higher, because the money isn't aligned with their values. It's just moving. And scenario 4 is one I see all the time. Someone earns more and still saves less. Sounds strange, right? But it happens. When income rises, people often stop paying attention. They assume they're fine now. They stop tracking. They stop planning. So small leaks turn into big leaks. Or they start reward spending. You know what I mean? I worked hard. I deserve this. Again, not evil. But if that becomes your main financial strategy, you'll stay stuck. So what's underneath all of these? Discipline, awareness, and intentional money management. And I want to be careful with the word discipline because some people hear discipline and they think punishment. They think restriction. They think someone yelling at them to stop buying anything fun. That's not what I mean. When I say discipline, I mean choosing on purpose. I mean deciding ahead of time what matters more. It's not "I can't." It's "I'm choosing." Awareness is the first step. Most financial stress gets worse in the dark. When you don't look at the numbers, the fear grows. When you do look, even if it's not pretty, you regain a sense of control. And intentional money management is basically giving your dollars a job before they disappear. It's telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. Here's the part one really want you to take home. Financial growth comes from habits, not just higher paychecks. Higher paychecks can help you accelerate, absolutely. But your habits decide whether higher income becomes freedom or becomes a nicer version of the same stress. If someone is making $50,000 and spending $51,000, they're stressed. If they later make $80,000 and spend $81,000, they're still stressed. It looks different, but it feels the same. The only thing that changed was the price tag of the stress. But if someone makes $50,000 and learns to spend $45,000, then later they make $80,000 and keep spending closer to $45,000 or $55,000 while saving and investing the rest. Now we're talking about momentum. That's when your money starts working for you. And listen, I know there are real constraints. Rent is high. Groceries are high. Life is expensive. Some people are supporting family. Some people are dealing with medical costs. This is not me saying, just budget and everything is fine. It's me saying, even in a tough economy, the habits matter because they give you the best chance at stability. Also, I want to say this clearly. It's okay if you've been doing it the other way. A lot of people were never shown what to do. Some of us grew up around financial chaos. Some of us learned spending as comfort. Some of us learned debt as normal. Some of us learned money avoidance because it was stressful in our household. So if any of this is hitting close to home, don't turn it into self-criticism. Turn it into information. Information is power when you actually use it. Let's get practical. How do you start shifting from I make more, but I'm still stuck to I'm building something? First, you stop relying on your income number as the proof that you're doing well. Income is one part of the picture. What matters just as much as what you keep, what you owe, and what you're building. A simple way to think about it is this. Your financial stability is mostly about the gap between what comes in and what goes out. Your future is mostly about what you do with that gap. So if your gap is small or non-existent, the goal isn't to feel bad. The goal is to widen the gap, either by earning more, spending less, or ideally a bit of both. But you can't widen it if you don't measure it. Second, you build a rhythm with your money. Not a once-a-year panic. Not a, I'll deal with it later. A rhythm. That means you check in regularly. You keep it simple. You create automatic systems when you can so you don't need to rely on willpower for every choice. And third, you decide what matters to you beyond the next purchase. Because the truth is a lot of spending is emotional. It's boredom. It's stress. It's celebration. It's trying to feel like you're doing well. If you don't define what doing well means to you, you'll end up chasing it through stuff. And stuff is a moving target. So let's wrap this into 2 simple weekly actions you can start doing right away. Not complicated, not perfect, just consistent. Weekly action number 1, do a 10-minute money check-in once a week. Same day, every week, if possible. Here's what you do in that 10 minutes. You look at your bank account balance. You look at your credit card balance. You scan your recent transactions and ask, what did I spend that I forgot about? What subscriptions or small charges are quietly stacking up? What's one thing I can adjust before it becomes a bigger problem? You're not doing this to shame yourself. You're doing it to stay awake. Because awareness changes behavior, and behavior changes outcomes. Weekly action number 2, set up one automatic future you transfer every week, even if it's small. This could be $10, $25, $50, whatever is realistic. Put it into a separate savings account, an emergency fund, or an investment account if you're already there. The amount matters less than the consistency in the beginning. You're training your money to build margin. You're training yourself to pay your future first, not last. And over time, that habit becomes identity. You become the type of person who saves and invests, not because you're perfect, but because it's simply what you do. If you want an extra little challenge, after 2 or 3 weeks, look at that transfer and ask, can I increase it by $5? Small increases over time can make a bigger difference than people expect. Now, before we close, I want to zoom out and remind you of something important. Learning how to manage money, invest, and really understand how finances work is a long-term journey. It's not a one-week fix. It's not one magical budget template. It's building skill and confidence month by month. And if you're a beginner and investing feels confusing or overwhelming, you don't have to figure it all out alone. If you want simple guidance, there's an app called Money Steps that breaks down investing basics step by step in a way that's easier to follow. It's there if you choose to explore it, and it can be a helpful starting point as you build your knowledge over time. That's it for today's episode. Remember, more income is nice, but it's the habits that create freedom. Keep it simple, stay honest with yourself, and take it one step at a time. I'll talk to you in the next one.